Breaking news. Putin's new front in his war against the United Kingdom is a sinister charm offensive. On Friday, July 28, after only 17 leaders showed up and little progress was made to develop bilateral relations, Vladimir Putin's two-day Africa-Russia summit will come to a close. In order to counter Vladimir Putin's charm offensive, in which he amplifies messages related to British colonialism, a democracy expert has advised the United Kingdom to take action. On Friday, July 28, the second and final day of Putin's Russia-Africa summit, experts believe the forum is part of a larger campaign to attract countries on the southern continent away from the West, despite the summit's low likelihood of yielding serious results. Russian expert and FDT research fellow Ivana Stradner has accused Putin of waging a information war, and called on Britain to defend itself. She urged the British capital to defuse the Kremlin's information operations, and give Moscow a taste of its own medicine. She argued that Britain should remind Africa of the truth because Russia, which claims to be an ally of the African continent, routinely references Britain's colonial past in the region without acknowledging its own misgivings. In April, a document titled, British Historical and International Legal Responsibility for Colonial and Post-Colonial Crimes, was released by the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Kremlin said the United Kingdom was suffering from historical amnesia, and demanded an inquiry into colonial crimes committed by the United Kingdom. To amplify messages related to colonialism and call for the dissolution of the Commonwealth, as Ms. Stradner put it, Russia is publishing this report. She also brought up the 19th-century-old, sordid history of Russian colonialism, to show that the report's focus on Britain was ostensibly motivated by a desire to mislead readers. It was also reported by Ms. Stradner of The Telegraph that Russia has for years been using social media platforms, influencers, and propaganda outlets such as RT and Sputnik to shape narratives. According to her, all those tired of the one-sided and biased Western-centered coverage of all things Africa can now download the Sputnik Africa app on their smartphones after an announcement from the Foreign Affairs Ministry last week. She argued that the United Kingdom should fight to dispel this narrative and keep large parts of Africa from aligning with Russia. Others believe Putin's strategy is failing, despite the fact that Russia has been running disinformation campaigns and the Wagner Group is expanding its presence across the Sahel region, West Africa, with direct Kremlin funding. The fact that so few African leaders showed up to the summit in St. Petersburg this week is evidence that they see beyond the disinformation, as former U.S. Ambassador to Zimbabwe Charles Ray told Express.co.uk. A lot of African leaders can probably read the signs, he said, and realize that for all Putin's charm offensive, the war in Ukraine and international sanctions severely constrain Putin's ability to really help them. He went on to say that many in Africa are beginning to see the downsides of allying too closely with Russia, with the exception of autocratic rulers and military juntas like those in the Central African Republic, CAR, and Mali, who rely on Russia and the Wagner Group to stay in power. Unfortunately for Russia, it appears that much of Africa is not biting on its attempts to harken back to the British ills of colonialism.